A lot of people have asked me, non-canon expert, have you felt it? Have you felt the awakening? To which I reply, of course. But the awakening pales in comparison to the Great Disturbance, where it was as if millions of characters suddenly cried out in terror, and were suddenly silenced. But let's leave that depressing event aside for now, and discuss a few characters that do exist, Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren. In this video expose, I will discuss why it makes sense that Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith, and why they will represent darkside users that have the potential to be stronger than any of their predecessors who were members of the Sith Order. It has been confirmed that Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren aren't Sith at the time of The Force Awakens. This might be surprising given the similarities that existed between Snoke and Kylo Ren and the Sith as we knew them in the previous movies. You may have also connected Kylo Ren to the Sith for his affinity to hurl well-timed insults at Rey and her friends, such as Four Eyes, Meth Mom, and Fatty McSmallhead. But the confirmation that Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith should not be surprising given what we know about the Star Wars universe, particularly the fact that the Sith Order was destroyed at the end of Return of the Jedi. Making Snoke and Kylo Ren Sith would not make much sense, and would kind of ruin everything. We have to remember that the Sith are not synonymous with the dark side itself. The Sith were an order of Force users that existed for thousands of years who utilized the dark side of the Force. The Sith, while always relying upon the dark side, did change their approach and philosophies over the millenniums, prior to the events of the movies. Most importantly in this regard, with Darth Bane, 1,000 years before the events of A New Hope, wherein Bane destroyed the Brotherhood of Darkness and their order, which weakened the Sith by encouraging and promoting infighting and internal strife amongst the Order. Darth Bane instituted the Baneite system and developed a rule of two that allowed the Sith to build and gather strength in secret for a millennium, culminating with the Sith gaining control of the galaxy and installing the Galactic Empire, under the rule of Darth Sidious and his apprentice Darth Vader. The rule of two had one critical weakness, however, the apprentice turning to the light in order to throw the master down into a reactor, after they were torturing his son to death with Sith lightning. Who could have foreseen such a thing? Importantly for the implications upon Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren, with the Emperor dead and Anakin having been redeemed, the Sith Order was destroyed. With this in mind, I take the confirmation that Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith literally, and not a clever ploy or some sort of twist where they're not Sith at the start of The Force Awakens, but will transform to become Sith by the end of Episode 8 or at some point in Episode 9. I also do not see the situation being that Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith in name, but are Sith in actions. Given what we know, Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith, but they are darkside users. Therefore, we have to expect that they will need to bring forward a new approach and philosophy concerning the dark side that significantly differentiates from that practiced by the Sith Order. This would make sense, as they have established that Snoke is wise and has a well-defined knowledge of the past, having witnessed both the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire. So given this, why would Snoke try to re-establish the philosophy of the Sith Order when it failed? So then, what kind of darkside users are Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren? We know that Snoke actively sought out Kylo Ren as he was the perfect embodiment of conflict, who represented the center between the dark side and the light side. Importantly, although Kylo Ren is a darkside user, Kylo Ren studied the teachings and skills as practiced by the Jedi to refine his powers, in addition to his training under the dark side. Further, Snoke encouraged Kylo Ren to draw upon both his light and dark side heritages, in order to promote and further his inner conflict, even though Kylo Ren perfectly understood and feared the risks this could create, given Darth Vader's seduction to the light on the basis of his sentimentalities. Therefore, it is clear that we have a new kind of darkside user emerging in Kylo Ren, following the fall of the Sith Order 3 decades prior to The Force Awakens. Kylo Ren seems to represent a darkside user who already contains a balance of light and dark within them, who is embracing the teachings of the light side in combination with the dark side teachings. he is using and benefiting from the strength provided by the dark side, but also utilizing the positive aspects of the light when needed. If I was going to put on my Supreme Leader Snoke hat, I would argue that he recognizes that a balance between the light and dark sides is much more potent than a dogmatic adherence to only using one side of the Force. This is why Snoke encourages Kylo Ren to embrace the conflict between light and dark within him, and to use his inherited light side influences, as well as to study the teachings of the Jedi and the light side of the Force. Supreme Leader Snoke, who we know has a vast knowledge of the past, must have learned from the lessons that were provided by the experience of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. Namely, as committed and seduced as Darth Vader was by the dark side, it was not enough to overcome the love and sentimentalities that he had for his son Luke, as Darth Vader was ultimately seduced back to the light, the impact of which had tremendous effects in initiating the downfall of the Galactic Empire, and probably more importantly, destroying the Sith. Supreme Leader Snoke must know that a dark side user will very likely have to similarly face these sentimentalities and risk being seduced to the light as Darth Vader was. Kylo Ren in particular would be susceptible to being turned to the light when facing the sentimentalities of his mother, father, uncle, and if Rey turns out to be a Skywalker, then her as well. Kylo Ren was quite forthcoming in his acknowledgement that the light pulled at him, which isn't surprising considering that he lived for 23 years as an adherent to the light. A telling scene from The Force Awakens is when Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren discuss the inevitable confrontation between Kylo Ren and his father Han Solo, after gaining knowledge that Han is in possession of the information containing Luke's whereabouts. Kylo Ren confidently states that by the grace of Snoke's training, he will not be seduced to the light, with Snoke replying that they shall see. This scene demonstrates that Snoke has provided Kylo Ren with training in order to prevent his seduction by the light side. Further, the way in which Snoke replies that they shall see if Kylo Ren is successful in preventing his seduction, repeating the line twice, seems to imply that this may be the first time that one of his apprentices has confronted one of their sentimentalities head-on like this, and he really is unsure of what will happen. Considering what happened to Darth Vader when he was confronted by his son, it is only natural for Snoke to be a little apprehensive of whether Kylo Ren can avoid being turned to the light side when confronted by his father. With Kylo Ren's murder of Han Solo, Snoke is prepared to finish his training, having gained the confidence that he would not easily be seduced by the light. Therefore, it seems that in Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren, we have a new dark side order, separate and different from that of the Sith, who's utilizing the light side of the Force to make them even more powerful and assist in avoiding their being seduced by the light. Given this potential new approach and philosophy, I am very much looking forward to how badass Kylo Ren is going to be if he's a dark side user, able to come face to face with his strongest sentimentalities and pulled towards the light, and steadfastly avoid seduction. Also, it will be very interesting to see how Luke may train Rey, given that she has some very strong vulnerabilities of her own to being seduced by the dark side. There we go! I hope that you enjoyed this video. We love making them, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, why not give a like or leave a comment? If not for me, for Fatty McSmallhead.